What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here alongside Josh Davis for an early Wednesday Linc Live. Josh, we've not been together for a while. We've both been in and out of town. I was traveling. Obviously, we both have stuff going on, but we're back here for an hour to hang out with you guys on a live show and break down what's been an interesting past couple of weeks, including our last live when I was in Scotland of Hassan Reddick getting traded to the New York Jets. What's up, man?
It's going well. It's unusual to do a little bit earlier, like you mentioned, but yeah, it's great to be back in the normal format. You know, we got the studio setups behind us instead of the Scotland Wi-Fi and everything else. But we managed to get through it, like you said. Craziness as always. You know, whenever there's breaking news, we go live, regardless of where we're at. But yeah, it's wild. I mean, I guess first off, for people that are just joining or maybe forgot or didn't figure that out, how was the trip overseas?
It's good. Yeah, we were 8-9 days, I think, with the Scotland, Ireland, England, and then Poland. So we were all over the place and had a bunch of fun. But there was a lot going on last week, and I was jealous to only get a couple of shows up. But I was glad to be able to, for whatever reason, perfect timing at the hotel, had some decent Wi-Fi to break down the Hassan Reddick trade. And that's one that's really angered fans, Josh. I mean, I don't know about your comment section. My comment section is absolutely full of people saying that trading Hassan Reddick was the wrong move and the Eagles are going to regret it, and why did they do it? And I'm curious your thoughts on it.
Yeah, it's I've gone back and forth because, again, like whenever we go live and, you know, the immediate reactions and everything else, but then trying to, you know, kind of come to terms with it and meditate on it and just mull over it. It's come to, I don't 100% know. Like that's okay. Maybe a terrible place to be in. But I've wrestled with the fact that I say, in 1 year's time, I very likely think that we'll look at this thing and say it was not a great trade just for the first year. Now, I'm not saying the drastic effect of, like, you know, Hassan Reddick's going to have 14 sacks and Huff is going to have 3 or something. Like, it's not going to be like that. But right. I just think that we might come away and go, all right, like, you know, Bryce Huff was solid. He was pretty good. I do believe in Bryce Huff, but I just don't know if it's going to be the sense of Hassan Reddick. And so I don't know. Again, it's like, yes, we have a longer term window. And so over the course of 3 years, like I've said this on a couple different shows, and I'll say it again here, but like over the course of 3 years, I believe that we'll look back and say, okay, you know what, it made sense. Like long term, 3 years wise, it does. Okay. But in terms of, you know, winning now and trying to win a Super Bowl, like I guess the argument is like, does it make you better today? And I know that's everywhere, but I don't know. What do you think? Does it make you better today to get rid of Hassan Reddick and be where we're at now?
It doesn't make you better today, but there are a lot of moves that would make you better today that wouldn't make you better long term. And if Philadelphia wanted to go sign every over 30-year-old player in free agency right now, they'd have a lot more players on the roster. Justin Simmons would probably go ahead and be one of them. I think we're just missing the point on the Reddick thing. It's not like Reddick was going to be an Eagle this year and just play in his $14.5 million contract. He was never going to do that. And there was not enough middle ground between these two. And so I bet you the Eagles wanted him. Even with the reports like today, Jeff McClain on The Fanatic talked about it on my show, how a lot of people thought that Reddick was a kind of sack hunting, sack chasing, a.k.a. a little more worried about his own stats versus the rest of the team. Take that for as you will. That's what I said in the show. I don't know if this is true, but it's pretty, well-known reporter who's reporting it. So, but this whole idea that the Eagles got rid of him because they didn't want to pay him is not necessarily fully true. They would have been willing to pay him. They probably offered him $20 million a year. Reddick has been hard, fast on 25, and we continue to wait for the Jets extension, which has not happened as of this live show. And I bet you we're going to see the Jets extension be $23+ million. And when that is official, you have to understand as an Eagle fan, Philly just didn't want to pay that much for a guy who's going to turn 30 this year. Like, do you need Hassan Reddick to win a Super Bowl this season? No, I don't think you do. I think if you gave me the choice right now, would you rather have Reddick or would you rather have Devin White, Bryce Huff, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson? I'd rather have those three than just Reddick. We saw what happened this past season, and I know the comments will say, well, the coaching staff was bad. Okay, but take the same coaching staff we have right now. I take those three, especially the guys in the secondary, versus obviously just one in Hassan Reddick. And that's controversial, apparently.
Yeah, I do understand. I understand why it's controversial.
Right.
Because I've wrestled with it internally myself. You know, I think we go back and forth on what are the implications long-term, short-term, and you laid out several great points there. I'm with you, yes. Okay, you know what? You have the personnel. You get extra personnel, perhaps. It feels like there's more potential that we're riding on, but I guess that's a lot of players. You draft guys, you hope they turn out well.
Right.
We're going to have the draft coverage, on all the nights. It's going to be great, but that's why it's a crapshoot sometimes, because you're hopeful. So, hey, you know what? Here's Nolan Smith. He's on the thumbnail. There's a reason he's on the thumbnail. There's a reason that I continue to talk about him, that we all will. But it's like, hey, there's no hiding anymore. He is literally going to get out there and he's going to play, I would assume, probably 40 snaps a game, maybe even more than that. It'll be a lot more than the 11 per game that he played last season. But it's going to be a little bit tough, because it's the situation of, again, I think Bryce Huff can do it, but there's questions of, hey, he was situational pass rusher. He wasn't a consistent him out there playing a lot of snaps or even the majority of the snaps. So, can he slide into that role? Can he be a good run stopper? Now, yes, to your point, like the numbers would not say that we were great anyway regarding, containing the edge and playing run defense and everything there. So it probably will be fine from that sense. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, because there's a lot to like. Again, I'll go back to, there's a lot to like in terms of potential. Like Zach Bond, I think I'm very hyped up on. He in my mind, if there's one player on the defense that's getting overlooked than everyone else, it's Zach Bond. Now, I know he doesn't have the resume to speak of it and go, oh, he's put up phenomenal numbers. But I mean, if we're going to sit here and say a Fangio type of player that Fangio can turn into a stud, I don't know if there's anyone else that we would say Zach Bond, who continues to get overlooked because of, there's great signings. I'm hopeful for Devin White. I think that he's going to be much better. He should be, but he should be much better. Nolan Smith can be great. Bryce Huff has some potential. So I see, and I am trying to get fully on board with what you're saying there too, because there's a lot of truth. But yeah, it just comes back to also like, you know what? If I want one guy to go and win me a game, get me a sack in the biggest moment,
sure,
Hassan Reddick's going to do it. And all these other guys, I'm kind of like, maybe. They can prove it. They can hopefully get there, but I just don't know that I'm ready to say, yep, I could be 100% confident. If we need a sack, go get it.
I definitely see Philadelphia adding another pass rusher at some point this offseason, whether it's obviously in the NFL draft. We'll talk about that here in a second, whether it's closer to training camp and there's someone on the market, or they want to trade for somebody, or the NFL trade deadline like they did a couple of years ago with Robert Quinn, despite the fact it didn't work out. I think that the overall defensive line is not officially set yet, and I think we can all agree the draft will be where they get somebody in with the first 3 picks. I think first round, one of the 2 in the second round are going to be a defensive lineman. It could even be at number 22 overall, which we can talk about. We need to mention, though, Josh and I are going to be live for every single night, night 1, night 2 of the NFL draft. We were last year to thousands of people watching, and we're doing our jersey giveaway that we did during the NFL draft. We gave away 3 of them this past year. Not sure the exact number we're going to do, but if you want to get in on the action, it's probably going to be quite a few. Drop a super chat on any live show. So this live show, all the way up until during the NFL draft, we're going to give away the jersey of your choice, but really we're trying to give away the jersey of the Eagles' first round selection. So whether it's, Chop Robinson, or whether it's Cooper DeJean, or it's somebody else, all you got to do is drop a super chat, be sub to both channels. Josh has the magic Excel sheet to save everybody's name. So any super chat you guys drop it from now, and of course on the night of the draft as well, gets you in on the jersey giveaway, Josh.
Yes, we are good to go for that. And I guess since we've brought it up now, shout out to everybody in chat, by the way. If you have not already, hit the like button. Helps us out.
What's up, guys?
It's probably changed every single week. Maybe not every single week, because there's like a, for sure, who we want them to draft. But has it changed at all? Do you still have a favorite for who you want the Eagles to draft? Well, let's say they, as realistic as we can. I mean, we could just throw out any name, but as realistic as you can, what you think Howie might do, but also in tandem with your personal preference.
Yeah, I think it has changed. I think Chop Robinson was an option at 22, but not a strong option at 22 pre-Reddick trade. If they keep Reddick, Robinson's out. They would never even get close to touching him. I think Chop Robinson's a real option. I think the Penn State connection is very, very strong, and he tested out the wazoo at both the Combine and his pro day. He has those. It was basically what Nolan Smith did. Nolan Smith came in maybe as a top 5 pass rusher in last year's draft, maybe a top 7 pass rusher. He tests out, like crazy, and then he vaults into the first round. Robinson did something very similar, and Philly drafted Nolan Smith, so why not go for Chop Robinson? I talked about Cooper DeJean today. There's some rumblings. been talking about the fact that Philadelphia is very interested in DeJean. He sent a letter to all 32 teams today saying that his, broken leg is basically healed. He's ready to go. And I got a lot of hate comments just due to the fact that people think, a white cornerback, those don't exist at all. How can he cover the great receivers in the league? You go put on the Cooper DeJean tape. You look at his stats, Josh, and he's versatile. He can play in the back. He can play in the box. He does not miss tackles at all, and he's a really good cover safety or a really good cover corner. I think those two are trending up right now. I do wonder about wide receiver, though, and I'm curious what you think about this, because I think they'll spend an early day 2 pick on a wide receiver. I think Campbell and Devontae Parker are not the answer right now, but I think wide receiver is the dark horse in terms of, well, we know they need defense, but if they find somebody they love at 22, maybe they take a flyer.
That would be wild, but they do love their wide receivers.
They love them.
To me, there's no way. To me, there's no way. However, I say that, and then it just kind of sets it up for them to actually go and do that. So
what
maybe
about
it
on
does
day 2
happen.
though? What about with like a second-round draft pick?
Day 2, possibly. I personally, hope
you're
that
like
they
really
don't.
out on it.
But
Okay.
that's because I really hope that they don't. There's too many holes in my mind of still what we need to go out and get. Now I know that like an Edgerrin Cooper is extremely unlikely to be available there at 50, but my preference would be. And most of the mock drafts that I've done is that he's still there. Again, I know there's difference and discrepancies from a mock draft versus real life, but still, like even if you trade up a little bit, go get Edgerrin Cooper, depending on what you do in the first round too. I mean, naturally it sets up for what you're going to do, several other picks beyond that. But I'm with you of like, okay, hey, there's Cooper DeJean out there. Personally, it's going to continue. It has stayed the same for me. Quinyon Mitchell. I don't know that anything's going to move me off the needle from that standpoint. But if you get a corner, that would be great. Realistically, I don't know that he's going to be available at 22.
I don't think he is.
So, if I have to be a little bit more come to terms with reality, I would say it's probably going to be, and maybe all of us are leaning this direction in terms of Howie realism, but it's probably going to be an offensive lineman. So if you take offensive lineman,
really, okay.
I think it will be. I don't know that I really want it to, but I keep going back to, it's probably going to be O-line. You got to get a right guard. And you need someone who's Lane's replacement. If you get someone who solidifies both and you say they're really solid, they can play right guard, if they turn into an all-pro or they turn into, not even all-pro, but like turn into a great starter, then, you can go and draft Lane's replacement in another draft or figure out something beyond that.
Okay.
But you need a right guard. You got to get someone who's starting there. So I could see that in the first round. And in the second round, like your question of the wide receiver, I don't know, because you still linebacker you could possibly get. You could get a corner in the second round. You get an edge rusher. I think very much on the table, edge rusher in the second round. And I know we've got 2 of them, but it seems like too much of a luxury to me of looking at this team and saying, yeah, another wide receiver would be fun. But I feel like defense is a much more realistic direction to go. And, they've been scouting some guys. But the majority of receivers that they've looked at and actually bring in for visits feel like they're more that day 3 type selection, like an AndreSwift Smith, Jaquan Jackson, I believe is with Tulane. So they're later selections there, but I will say it again. Me saying it's probably not going to happen automatically gives it a much greater chance to take place. So who knows?
Let's go to LA Kid to Super Chat. How about the first entry into our jersey giveaway happening during the night of the NFL draft here? LA Super Kid getting it up with saying, "What's up, guys? Thomas, who's your first round pick?" We know Josh's is Mitchell, who I also like. And again, drop any Super Chat. $1 is 1 entry. So $5 here, 5 entries. Josh puts it into the old Excel sheet, and we keep you down for our draft party, which is going to happen during night 1 of the NFL draft. So just make sure we get that very, very clear. Listen, I love Quinyon Mitchell. Quinyon Mitchell is probably, in my opinion, the ultimate first-round draft pick for Philadelphia. Kind of similar to how Jalen Carter was last year, because we didn't think Jalen Carter would be there at number 10, and then Philadelphia was able to grab him. I don't think Quinyon Mitchell is there at 22. Unless they want to trade up to probably inside the top 15, it's going to be very, very, very hard for me to believe that there's not a corner-needy team, 10 spots ahead of you between 10 and 21 that could really just grab Mitchell and make him basically non-existent for Philadelphia. I love him, though, and I think he's fantastic, and I think that he is he's not as good of a project as Sauce Gardner, but it feels like a Sauce Gardner-type player. Physical, lengthy, fast, great hips. He has everything that you want in a cornerback. And, Sauce didn't play at a massive school. He's at Cincinnati. Toledo's a lot smaller than Cincinnati, but still, you kind of get a little bit of a comparison there, and I would love him. But I really think Chop Robinson is probably who I'm leaning towards right now. I think you need another pass rusher. They talked about today, I believe it was on The Fanatic, where they were basically explaining that, listen, Josh Sweat had a down year because he had to play more. They don't want him using 75% of the snaps. They want it down to about 50, about 65% of the snaps. And so you need to add another pass rusher in order to be able to do that because BG's numbers are going to come down. And unless Nolan has just, the game or the year of his life in year 2, like he's that big, that much of a jump, I think they're going to need another pass rusher. And to me, Chop is the most likely option at 22. Like he'll be there as well, but at the same time, I think Philadelphia needs him at that edge rushing position. So let's go to Josh H here. Is this? Did he do another one? Oh, so sorry. Josh H has 5 entries into our jersey giveaway. I think they have a wide receiver 3 in their practice squad. He gave up trying for the Olympics to be on the practice squad. Wait, who is he talking about?
Wow, Devin Allen?
Devin Allen there?
Are you going with Devin Allen? I mean, I don't know that he's your wide receiver 3.
Wide receiver 3 is bold, very bold.
But he's got a lot of speed. He can be a burner. I don't know if we're going with wide receiver. There's a lot of other options. Austin Watson, that's a potential, right? I mean, he was signed there. You like the ability that he has. He's shown it in preseason naturally, but there's other guys. If you're looking at like practice squad potential, honestly, I mean, I know obviously Paris Campbell, being signed from that side, and you've got Devontae Parker, which who knows where he fits in, but I mean, even practice squad, like I say, I like the optimism. I don't know how realistic I would buy into that for Devin Allen.
I don't know if I do either.
We'll see. I got you down for 5, Josh. I appreciate it.
Do you think that the wide receiver 3 is on the roster right now? Like, do you believe in Paris Campbell and Devontae Parker? I believe in Campbell more, but both of them feel like very, the same that Olamide Zaccheaus was last year. It was like, okay, maybe he'll have a touchdown or 2, and that's what Zaccheaus was able to do. So, I'm curious if you think that we have the wide receiver 3 on this roster.
Personally, no. I would say no because I want a more proven, established, person back there to be wide receiver 3, and they're going to get utilized more because Kellen Moore's offense go much more heavily focused towards wide receiver 3, or at least in the sense of, hey, let's draw up a couple plays, get him involved, things like that. But honestly, realistically, if I had to predict, I think that they're done in the sense of like, hey, let's go get another free agent. They may get someone in the draft. So I'll put a disclaimer in there. But even with the guy in the draft, I don't know that they're going to bring a rookie in and say, yep, there you go. You're wide receiver 3. It might be like work your way into that rotation. But I think that they're kind of set on saying, hey, let's give Paris Campbell a shot, see if he could do it. He's a burner. He's very similar to Quez as much as there's a few people that actually really like Quez that I got like hate for whenever I was talking about him leaving. So, but the vast majority were okay with that whenever he was gone. So, it's a replacement of Quez. It can't be worse. We'll see. By the way, I'm going to get to this other super chat, but also it appears that Hassan Reddick has entered the chat. I don't know if this is the actual Hassan Reddick.
Yeah, that's his
says, I
Twitter handle.
Y'all didn't pay me my money. So if that's the legit Hassan Reddick, we appreciate you swinging by. All love, no hate.
Probably not. Probably not. I like Daquan Barkley saying enough with Devin Allen. He's the Bryce Treggs of the Sirianni era. That's so true. I remember Bryce Treggs was supposed to be like the kick return guy, and he was a nobody. He's probably, I don't know what he's doing these days. Another super chat. Again, that's we're doing it again from last year. If you were not here last year, we were live during the NFL draft. We gave away 3 jerseys. They were 3 Jalen Carter jerseys. They took forever to ship because Fanatics is just the best. But we're doing it again, so $1 is 1 entry, and Josh is going to accumulate them. So if you do super chats tonight on this show, it'll accumulate as many as you do up until the drawing is done randomly during the draft. So 10 here for DKT, yes. And he says, let me pull it up, I don't think they will or should draft a corner in round 1. I think trenches should be the focus. Okay. I think you definitely need to go ahead and get a corner at some point in this draft, mainly due to the fact that you have some unknowns. Now, the good news for the Eagles in the secondary is DKT's technically right. Like, they have, obviously, James Bradbury under contract, Slay under contract, and they have 2 young guys behind him in Keely Ringo, and then Eli Ricks, and Isaiah Rodgers. 3, basically, who have potential, but potential is not a guarantee. And what you don't want to have happen is Bradbury to have another bad year and basically solidify the fact that he's done in Philadelphia, get benched, you have to throw in Keely Ringo, or Eli Ricks, they struggle, and then you keep doing this rotating door of let's try Ricks this week, let's try Ringo this week, let's try Rodgers this week. I think you've got to find your cornerback of the future. And the good news for Philadelphia is with this draft, even without Hassan Reddick, Josh, they do have a luxury of being able to take best player available. Now, they could use an offensive lineman. They could use a corner. They could use a pass rusher. They could use a linebacker. But really, as the roster is currently constructed right now, this is going to be your roster that's going to win or not win you a Super Bowl, right? They feel confident in what they have. Adding a first-round corner or a first-round linebacker or a first-round pass rusher would be a nice luxury, but Edgerrin Cooper doesn't win you a Super Bowl this year. He wins you a Super Bowl, hopefully, in the future. The same goes for Cooper DeJean. The same goes for Quinyon Mitchell. So they can go anywhere they want, and I think that Howie will sit there at 22, and if Quinyon Mitchell is there, hey, we need a cornerback. If he's not and it's Chop, hey, we need Chop. If he's not and you need an offensive lineman, like they have the luxury to do whatever they want. And so I get not needing a corner in round one. It's still very high on the board because Bradbury's a massive unknown, and Josh Slay's probably got 1 year left.
Most likely. Yeah, I'm totally with you. For as far as age goes, no doubt. And I will say that, again, going back to the whole offensive line, draft them early, it's going to be an O-lineman. I'll be shocked. It'll be an O-lineman, in my opinion, within the first 3 picks. We have 2 second rounders. Within the first 3 picks, it will be someone to play the right guard position. I think that there is that little of confidence in who your option might be, whether it's Tyler Steen, whether it's insert, really, I guess, whoever you would like else. I'm drawing a blank on really other right guard options. Cam Jurgens is going to be fine. So center, to me, I'm not concerned about that. And those are a number of people that continue to comment on just about every video that, hey, we don't know what center is going to be. Technically, yes, we don't know what center is going to be, but Cam Jurgens was picked for a reason. He's a natural center. He's not a great right guard, as we saw. He was fine. He was okay, but he was picked as a reason to be the right guard. Or to be the center, but now you don't have a right guard. You got to go out and get someone. So whether it's a Cooper Beebe, whether it's a Christian Mahogany, Christian Haynes, there's a number of guys that the Eagles have visited, brought in. That seems like kind of more of a for sure you have to go with those first 2 or 3 picks. But again, to your point, you're in a decent spot because you can kind of go best player available, make your move, and it'll be interesting too because does Howie trade up? Let me make sure and get this super chat real quick too. But a question for you as far as trade up, because I've gotten a number of comments on that. Russell Nash, appreciate the 5. Got you down. I didn't see a comment, but if you have something, throw something out there. We'll read it. But I got you down for the 5. Also, Bob Brown too. Got you down for the 10. Saw that one. It says the ultimate first round pick is Bowers, Georgia tight end, obviously. The mismatches he would cause for our offense would help hide all the deficiencies Mitchell would fix on defense. So that's part of the question that goes into this as well. Bowers, you're not getting unless you trade up. That's a significant move there also. Are you going with tight end? So that's part of the question. But also just in general, do you feel like it's more likely that Howie trades up, even though, you don't have, I guess, to the point of, quarterbacks being drafted early, maybe someone is more available that you thought wouldn't be. But do you think that he goes and gets his guy, or do you sit there and wait and say, hey, best player available that falls to us, we're just going to go with that?
Yeah, it's hard. First off, listen, I live in Atlanta. I have a lot of UGA fans. We watched a lot of UGA the past 2 years, and Brock Bowers is insane. But you put Brock Bowers on this offense, and he's probably underutilized. To me, it'd be Kyle Pitts all over again. The difference is Kyle Pitts didn't have a quarterback to get him the football in Atlanta, but Kyle Pitts turned into the 3rd best option after being the 4th overall draft pick a couple of years back. Now he's behind Bijan and Drake London, if I can think. Yeah, it's Drake London. So, Bowers just seems like a wasted pick because what are you going to do? Take targets away from Dallas Goedert, a top 3 tight end in the league? I mean, sure, you could have them both in the field, but then take targets from A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, from Saquon Barkley. It just doesn't make sense. I love the guy, but it needs to be somebody else instead of, Philadelphia getting a tight end. In terms of trading up, I think there's a real chance that somebody were to fall to you. And we talked about this a lot of times, Josh, but 5 quarterbacks in the top 10. There's 4 in the first 4 picks. That's all but guaranteed. Arizona will trade out. They're going to move back. Someone comes up, and you could definitely see the Chargers move back as well, especially if they, Malik Neighbors is gone and someone wants Marvin Harrison Jr., or if those guys are falling, so they move back to get them. I think you're going to see 6 quarterbacks in the first round. I think Michael Penix, he's healthy now, and take away the injuries throughout his career, and he 100% is a top 15 pick. Bo Nix could slide in there at some point, and that's 5, 6 positions that aren't any position besides quarterback. And so you shift the draft back, and you basically move Philadelphia up from 22, 5 picks forward. So you're up at 17. So you might not have to trade up. And if they need to trade up, it could be 22 to 17, which we've seen in the past. It's not that much to go ahead and give up. So, I mean, it all depends on what his big board is. It all depends on who his guys are that he loves. And if Quinyon Mitchell is one of them and he's there at 15, do you pick up the phone and make a call and see if you offer 1 of your 2 seconds, this first rounder, and a future fourth, and if go ahead and move up? I think you probably do.
Yeah, you absolutely do. There's not a question for me because, as much as people want to say, hey, Howie likes to think long term, 1 year ahead.
Yeah,
you got to get Lane's replacement. You got to go do this. You got to go do that. Like, you kind of got to get Slay's replacement. To your point, like it's 1 more year really for him. It's not going to be beyond that. So if you've got a guy the caliber of Quinyon Mitchell who fits the Fangio scheme really well, I mean, not only is he a really good corner, but he fits the scheme great. So if he's somehow available at that point, yes, in my opinion, it's easy. You trade up, you go get your guy. He'll be maybe even starting this season, but for sure next season, and he should be a long-term starter in that sense. So I think it fills the void there naturally in the secondary, and we know and have seen that Fangio prefers to have more solidified secondary players. So
right.
Yeah, if you got an option for him, absolutely move up. I would lean towards it's likely that he does trade up. He might sit tight, but we know how he loves to trade all throughout the draft, but especially in the first round, like the discrepancy of talent. And like you laid out there, the more quarterbacks that go early, I mean, Howie's going to be licking his chops going, oh yeah, we're going to make a move here because this player based on just overall talent should have been gone top 10. And all of a sudden, he's sitting here at 15 or whatever. And you absolutely pounce on that. So that's my hope. I prefer that happens. By the way, the comment earlier from Russell, I appreciate that. He said, no chat, just showing love. So there you go. We appreciate that.
Well, I mean, John, we're going to show you love with a jersey. So
yeah, I was going to say, yeah, we got you down still nonetheless. Maybe. You might end up winning the jersey. John Kimsky got you down for 10. Says, thanks, Josh and Thomas. You guys are the best. Cooper Jean and Edgerrin Cooper for me. So the Cooper draft.
That would not be bad. That would not be bad. If there's a way to insert your favorite first-round player that's realistic, and then Edgerrin Cooper in round 2, every single Eagle fan, whether it's O-line Edgerrin Cooper, DeJean Edgerrin Cooper, Mitchell Edgerrin Cooper, like we would all freak out. And they have the ability to do so with 2 second-round draft picks. You could go from, package the 2 and move up to 34. And if Cooper's still there, you get him. And you probably could go to like 28 and get him if you really wanted him. So, but that's where, the CIA level security that these teams sort of have when they try and figure out, do you like Edgerrin Cooper? Do you like Edgerrin Cooper comes into play because, yeah, you're scouting your own team and obviously your own draft picks. And people have inside sources scouting the Giants and scouting the Chiefs and scouting all the rest of the players. So it's fun. The NFL draft is just incredibly fun.
Yes, it absolutely is. I was double checking here because I saw a comment of Tony Rash saying we re-signed Dillard as an Andre Dillard, but there's nothing that I'm seeing official. So I was interested there. I was going, hang on, do we have an offensive line? We're talking about that, but I
didn't see anything about that
official. So
we'll see.
So far, nothing yet. But yes, John, appreciate it. Got you down for the other 10.
RW says, where'd you get that dope T-shirt, Mott? It's just it's a Fanatics Nike one, so it's on Fanatics. It runs a little small, though, if you order it. FYI, this is a medium, and it was a little, it's a little tight. So, is what it is. How do I join the jersey giveaway?
Workouts.
Very simple. Yeah, or I could do that. Philly Knight says, how do I join in? Very simple. You drop a super chat, and $1 is one entry. So $5, as you see here from Devin Whited, saying, love you guys, get some 5 entries. And then every single super chat you do, obviously, grows and grows, and Josh puts it in on his handy-dandy, very nifty Excel spreadsheet, and then we throw it into a random name generator, and then we pick on night 1 of the NFL draft. So get your super chats in. We had a bunch of people do it last year. We gave away 3 jerseys, and it was a bunch of fun. How about 2 here from InFlight 215? Which trade was better, Diggs versus Reddick? What'd you think of the Stephon Diggs trade today, Josh? We have not talked about this. We only text about these sort of things. That was absolutely incredible. If you didn't see it, the Buffalo Bills got a second-round draft pick in 2025. The Texans got like a 5th in the future coming back. But the Texans had Stephon Diggs in what was a really big shakeup in the AFC. Do you think it's a good move for one team, either team? What are your thoughts on the Diggs trade?
I mean, I love it for the Texans because, you say, hey, we got a window here, right? It's always the situation with a rookie quarterback. You try to maximize that. You're not having to pay for a quarterback who CJ Stroud, I mean, he checked every single box that you could possibly want in his first season. There might be a little bit of a drop off, sophomore slump and everything else there. But I would have to imagine now. Yes, there's potential drama or whatever with Stephon Diggs, and we've continued to see that. But change of scenery is probably a good thing for him, regardless. If you're Buffalo, I'd have to imagine that it was, hey, this it's been back and forth, and you see some stuff. Hear reports. Diggs not, what was it, like last year? He didn't show up to practice, and people are freaking out for a split second, like, we don't know where he is, and no one can get a hold of him and everything else. So it's probably good for both sides. I don't know. I mean, looking at the compensation on it, though, it's just a proof point of how quickly even a stud receiver, like he could still have a couple good seasons or really good seasons even. And you're like, all right, you got him for a second-round pick. But to your point, it was a 6th round this year and then a 5th round next year that you're also giving up to just get a second-round pick back from the Texans. So I don't know. I mean, it's and also it's next year's second. It's not this year's second. So I think it was probably a move that needed to happen of a sense. I'll be curious to see also. I mean, like, hey, there's Josh Allen, which, like, who's he going to throw to? He's got his tight end. He's got a rookie tight end there. But I mean, besides Kincaid, like, maybe they try to get a few options for him. But yeah, I don't know. I think it just goes to show, like, if you have, it's better. And we've talked about this a number of times, with the receivers and drama and everything else that people want to blow out of proportion. But when you have, and let's just go to Smitty, because I love AJ and believe in AJ, but Smitty is the consummate professional. Like, you never hear anything hardly at all of Smitty. He's going to put in the work. He's going to put in the time. He shows up every single game. There's a reason that he didn't miss a single game. Yeah. He wouldn't have if it was up to him. But you could just count on it, and he's a stud. So he is totally worth getting extended. I hope that gets done. But yeah, in terms of this whole, it will get done. I shouldn't say I hope it will get done, but it's just a question of, like, timing. But yeah, you had to move on from a situation here because I don't think it was great for either side. And it wouldn't surprise me if Stephon Diggs has a great season next year, and he's happy. He's getting the ball thrown to him. CJ's got his guy. So yeah, I don't know. Good for them. They've got a lot of high-powered offense.
2025 second-round draft pick for one of the top receivers in the league. Reddick was a third that could be a second in 2026. So shows you that the veteran players, and again, Diggs, 30 years old, going to be 30. The trade market really wasn't there. Everyone's saying, well, how'd you get a 2026 pick for Reddick? That's terrible. It's kind of the best you could have had. So, all right, in flight, we got you down for 2. We got Fresh Edwards down for 1. We're going to round up. 99 cents. We're going to round up. That's 1 entry. And, hey, 1 entry could do it. It's all randomized.
You never know.
And then Devin Whited said, had to comment again with 5 more because no one ever gets my last name right. I don't know how you'd get this last name wrong. How would you pronounce this? Whited, right? White?
That's right. Yeah.
It's White.
I don't know how else. Yeah. I don't know what else. Maybe someone would say, like, witted, but that doesn't. It doesn't. It's whited. Sense. Like, I don't. Yeah.
Well, so he's got 5
we appreciate it. Got you down for 5 more.
There you go. Yep. Just drop a super chat. We're gonna be live obviously today, and then we're gonna be live obviously next week, and then live again, and then for the NFL draft. Every time we are live together, any super chat you do gets you entered. That's how it works. So, and then the night of the draft, we're going to do it, obviously, after the Eagles pick. So watch the entire draft with us, and then get your super chats in. They're going to build and grow, and then we're going to pick and draw our winners. So it's going to be a ton of fun, if I do say so myself.
And we had, again, going back to the Fresh Edwards, the dollar, we had someone that I remember specifically had only put down $2 and they ended up winning a jersey. So it is possible.
That is
we
right.
Also had the top contributor win a jersey in Tyler. Yeah. So, you up your odds and increase your chances, but you never know. You never know who could actually win there.
Yep.
That is going to be fun, though. We also got a question here of DKT, which I was going to bring up already, but perfect timing. Says, would John Mechie be a trade target now? Question of, you got the Stephon Diggs going to Houston. We were talking about wide receiver 3. Is it on the roster? Do you maybe make a move? It's worth a possibility, right? I mean, like a check of, hey, are they trying to offload someone? What do you think, though, on Mechie?
Yeah. The problem is, like, how healthy is Tank Dell going to be for week 1? Like, the idea with Houston is what you said. Rookie contract, so you try to maximize C.J. Stroud. It's what every good team has done. Philadelphia, they obviously did it with A.J. Brown before they extended Jalen Hurts. So they want a 3-headed monster, and obviously Dalton Kincaid makes them a 4-headed monster. I mean, they're loaded there. Mechie would be the odd man out, but do they actually just want to trade Mechie? He was on a rookie contract. That's kind of where the snag comes up. I would do it, but Does that mean that the Eagles or really the Texans would do it? I'm not sure. Maybe the Texans are a little bitter because they apparently tried really hard for Saquon and offered more money for Saquon, and Saquon decided to stay in the Northeast and play for his divisional rival, the Philadelphia Eagles. So it is what it is. By the way, on Saquon Barkley, I feel like it's kind of like there was this massive high, and then we've kind of leveled out. Saquon seems to be so pumped to be an Eagle, man. I mean, he is. You saw him DJing. You saw his kids wearing all the gear. He's playing golf in a video recently. Saquon has never looked happier, and it's got to be to the fact that he knows he doesn't have to, hit a home run every single play, or else Daniel Jones is going to ruin it.
That would be the most, you're totally right, because you could see the expression on his face, but that would be the most gratifying situation to have gone from putting up with the New York Giants organization, Daniel Jones, the lack of blocking, and like you said, having to hit a home run every single play, to then all of a sudden you're going over here and be like, you know what? There may be games, and this is the crazy part. I'm sure Saquon can't even fathom, but like there will be games, most likely, there certainly can be, but there probably will be games where Saquon is only having to run the ball 10 times, 12 times, runs it for 60 yards, maybe a touchdown, but the offense is clicking so much. You got a couple passing touchdowns, defense containing the other side, and he's not having to be overused. Now, there's also going to be games for sure that I say, let's go as many times as possible. Let's leverage the fact that we do have Saquon Barkley and he carries the ball 25 or 30 times. But the fact that, again, he doesn't have to be the only option basically every single play for the defense to account. I mean, I can't even imagine what will be going on through his head, through the first couple series, and be like, wow, this is totally different. Like, I have not been in a situation, even if you go back to college, like he was so honed in on at Penn State, but like certainly with the Giants, I mean, it's like hand the ball off or throw the ball to Saquon every single time. Now it's, well, hey, you might, but a lot of times you'll be a decoy. So you just hand it off or do a play action situation. So yeah, I'm sure he's pretty pumped about that. It'd be interesting too. What do you think on the Saquon? Do you have any expectations? I know it's really early, but we got to say, do you have any expectations numbers wise? Like I know fantasy, it's always been, hey, take him super high, because again, he's going to get all the usage in there and everything. Is it better? Is it worse? Because efficiency wise, he'll probably be better, like we've been talking about. What are your overall expectations?
I do think that they're going to make him a 3-down back. I think Kenny Gainwell's numbers are taking a massive hit. That's why you're seeing some Kenny Gainwell propaganda on Twitter. Did you see him working out today again? There's been a couple of
I did
off-season workout stuff for Kenny Gainwell. There's some propaganda on there trying to make sure, hey, don't forget about me.
He's still there.
I think he's going to have a huge year. And if DeAndre Swift can have 1,000 yards, nothing against DeAndre Swift, great back. He's a 1,000-yard back. But Saquon is so much better than DeAndre Swift overall. And they hardly use DeAndre Swift in key positions. If Kellen Moore can commit to using the running back and commit to giving Saquon 20-plus touches, whether it's 15 carries, 5 catches, whatever, a game, 1,200 yards on the ground should be a guarantee. 15 from scrimmage should be a guarantee. 7 touchdowns should be a guarantee. Now, it's all, if and but what, who knows? But it really should be at least 1,200 yards rushing. If he's under 1,000, he's either injured or we got hosed, and it's going to be one of the worst contracts in Eagle history. But I think he's going to be just fine. Shout out to Cahill Morales, showing love from Hawaii. Let's go, Birds. Aloha. There you go. Get your $5 entry Birds. There. That is one of my favorite places is Hawaii. It's great. Josh has been there as well.
Yes, I have.
What's your first 5 mock picks for the Birds? Didn't you do a mock draft here, Josh? I think you did.
I did,
yes. Did you do one? 5 picks is a lot. That's a lot for a mock draft. Go and watch Josh's show. He'll tell you.
That's quite a bit. Off the top of my head, the first 5 that I did was, unsurprisingly, the first 2 you can easily guess. It was Quinyon Mitchell, and I traded up to, I think, 17 was where we were at. Traded up, get Quinyon Mitchell. Second pick is Edgerrin Cooper. Third was Cooper Beebe. Man, I'm going to struggle beyond that because it's wait a while. I think it was like 161 is the next one. Yeah, I did it. I've done a couple. I've done a lot not online or streamed or whatever. So I don't actually remember who the other ones are. There's a lot of depth options beyond that point. I will say that. But those are the first 3, if that helps.
Okay. Yeah. We will do a live mock draft on one of these shows. It's already April, which is crazy, but we will for sure be doing a live mock draft on one of these shows. So do not worry at all in terms of
3 weeks away from the draft.
Isn't that crazy? I feel like last year we waited forever, but also there was the anticipation of 2 draft picks. And we were right there outside the top 10. It was like the ability to get a superstar was a lot stronger than being 22. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying we can't get a superstar this year. I'm just saying, it basically is not as exciting as it was. Although night one is going to be very exciting from just an overall perspective because of the quarterbacks and the wide receivers. And what's going to be crazy, Josh, is you're going to go quarterback the first 4 picks, maybe quarterback at 5, maybe, 5, 6, 7. But you also have Malik Neighbors, you have Adunze from Washington, and Marvin Harrison Jr., who are all top 10 picks. So you are potentially talking about 8, maybe 9 picks in the top 10 being either quarterback or wide receiver. Like, totally. And then you throw in, it's the Notre Dame offensive lineman, right? I think the Notre Dame offensive lineman is the best offensive lineman in the draft. Throw him into the Jets somewhere, whether they trade back or whether they stay put. Those are your first 10 picks. I mean, basically, those are your first 10 picks. And then you still have all these defenders and all these other players who can potentially go off. So it's going to be very fun. It's going to be very, very fun.
Yes.
I just joined. What's everyone listening from Lancaster, Pennsylvania? Says Trent Shoemaker. There you go. What up,
Trent? What's up?
We are doing a little bit earlier tonight. I think we have like kind of a newer crowd. We're normally like 7:30, 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night. We got stuff going on later tonight, so a little bit earlier. But we're getting the maybe the drive home from work crowd. That'd be fun. So we appreciate everyone watching.
There you go. Shout out to everybody. And again, if anyone's watching this back or you catch it late, you miss it, the opportunity, like Thomas said, it's Wednesdays. We'll probably be back to the regular scheduled programming next week
for sure.
But if any super chat, anytime during the shows, chance to win the jerseys during the draft and everything else. So it'll be a blast. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
We do have, also Joseph Lloyd said, so hyped about the Eagles. I love Philly. Yep. We're definitely hyped about the Eagles with the moves and everything else. I think that you mentioned Saquon earlier, and it's also like we have the high of free agency, and it's all these different moves and everything else. And then it dies down naturally, and you kind of shift to the draft and focus on everything else. There's still a ton of reason, like we talked about or opened with, but a ton of reasons to be optimistic about the Eagles as a whole, but certainly the defensive side. I think that's more of the question marks. Yes, there's coordinators on both sides, but just like the playmakers, who's going to make the impacts, going to be set up in different ways to succeed. One that we briefly mentioned in talking about the draft, Jalen Carter was, the steal of the draft last year, made a really good impact, did hit the rookie wall, which is not crazy for, really any rookies. It does happen. But expectations this coming season, I mean, it feels like he could take that next jump. He showed signs of it. And he's going to be asked a lot naturally because Fletcher Cox is gone. And you say, hey, like, JC, you got to be the guy. There's going to be Jordan Davis next to you. We're going to have other guys around you that we do need impact from. But Jalen, it's your time to shine. Now, I'm sure that he's attacking this offseason like crazy, but does it feel like he can be at that next level? And I guess potential-wise, where do you feel like, I mean, is Pro Bowl realistic? Is All-Pro realistic in this season? Where's that at with you?
There's 2 sides of this, because the first side is that he fell off because the college football season is a lot less strenuous than the NFL season. And, you get to week 13, week 15, it's like, all right, we're running out of gas a little bit here because he was great early on. The other thought process is the argument that people make for Hassan Reddick and the rest of the defense. When Matt Patricia took over, all hell broke loose. And it was just, it truly was a nightmare. And honestly, this is an aside. The Patricia taking over should have been the nail in the coffin for Sirianni if it truly was Sirianni's decision, like they said it was, because that was genuinely, Josh. If they stick with Desai, as bad as he was, they probably still win the NFC East and they probably still host a playoff game. I really believe that Patricia was kind of where everything went wrong. So if that was the case and you have a smart defensive coordinator now in Vic Fangio, Carter should pop. There's no excuse. There really is no excuse for him or Jordan Davis to not be really good this year. You can't spend first-round draft picks into the top 15 on defensive linemen and have them be mediocre, right? Like, I love Milton Williams. Milton Williams plays exactly as Milton Williams should based on where he was drafted. He's not supposed to be an all-time superstar. He's not supposed to be a starter, rotational, good defensive tackle. Jalen Carter is supposed to be 5x better than Milton Williams. Jordan Davis is supposed to be better than Milton Williams. Right now, you can argue that Milton Williams was better than Jordan Davis last year. That can't happen this season. And the Eagle defense really depends on it because you lose Fletcher Cox. Obviously, you're 2 years removed from having other defensive people depart, Javon Hargrave. But you need these 2 young players to ball out because you can't keep drafting D tackles in the first round every year and just wait for one to pop. Like, you have your guys, So I think he's going to. I really feel like he grew up a lot over the course of this past season. I think keeping Brandon Graham there is fantastic for him from a leadership perspective. I think he's ready to be a pro and ready to maybe become one of the better D tackles in the league. But, it's hard. Everyone's not Aaron Donald. Everyone's not Fletcher Cox. That's why Fletcher Cox is Fletcher Cox. Like, did we get a generational type talent? I don't know, but the door is still open for him. This is it for Jordan Davis. I mean, this is truly it, because obviously going into year 3, you get him for one more year after that, and then you don't pick up the 5th-year option. This is his last chance if he wants a big second contract like every NFL player strives to do to get that generational type wealth in that second deal for, top 5 money at their position.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. He needs to show that improvement. I was very hyped up. I mean, coming into the training camp, we saw the pictures and it's like, oh, hey, like JD's a little bit slimmed down. Apparently the reports were, I guess JD even like confirmed it. He said, no, weight-wise, it's about the same. But like you could tell there was a little slimmer version, maybe not a ton, but a little bit slimmer version. But it still comes down to the conditioning. Like he looked better. You could do the side-by-side comparison of the pictures and face and everything else. Looked better. But then as the season kept going on, like we all saw, he had a pretty good start early on. And then he doesn't have the excuse of hitting a rookie wall. He just hit a wall of sorts. And it was a kind of a combination, I think, of conditioning. Yes, he had to play a ridiculous amount of snaps in the Buffalo game, as did everyone on the defense. So there were things that contributed to it. But you started to see as time went on later in the season, I mean, he's basically out there taking up space, but not even in really a good way. Like you say, you want Jordan Davis to take up space. Like if he's doing it the right way, then all right, hey, you know what? I'm occupying 2 gaps. You're not going to get past me. The linebackers can shoot the gaps and can make all these tackles. He was just kind of standing out there. And so, he had his moments and everything, but not to the extent like you're saying. I mean, you draft a first-round player like Jordan Davis, they need to be a game wrecker. They need to be a game changer. And, outside of the very early point of the season, he didn't do that. So I'm totally with you. He's got to make his impression early on, and he's got to keep it up for the longevity of the season. Hopefully that motivation is there. I mean, also the benefit too, and I think that we've talked about it a couple different times, but it's like Jalen Carter is probably better for Jordan Davis than Jordan Davis is for Jalen Carter.
Should be. Yeah.
Like, good point. I mean, Jordan Davis is there as, what he was kind of termed as like the accountability partner of sorts. I don't know if that's the exact title, but, like there for Jalen Carter, they have a good relationship. But in terms of like motivation and, hey, let's go get a workout in, let's like challenge each other in practice, try to get the better of one another. The reports have been like Jalen Carter's that guy to kind of boost and motivate Jordan Davis. So hopefully like with those guys being and working in tandem, it's like, you know what? Hey, JD, better, whether it's a better diet, better situation there. There were rumors of him being overweight and being fined for it. Who knows if that's legit? But, towards the end of the season, you didn't see him playing as well. So I don't know. But he's a professional, like all guys, in this sense, is like, take it seriously, get this thing done, and show up for the first round pick that you are. Because this is, like you said, it's time to prove it. It's really beyond time to prove it. But this is kind of your last real chance for this season anyway.
Yeah. But I mean, this is what happens in the National Football League. There are only so many stars, which is why you have to do well in free agency. You have to go get a Bryce Huff. Yeah. You have to get a CJ Gardner-Johnson. And at the same time, you have to go ahead and try and draft well and try and go ahead and get the right player. The draft is a crapshoot. It is not a science. And as much as people want to convince you that, oh, this guy's really good at drafting, this guy's really bad at drafting, everyone has hits, everyone has misses.
Oh, it
Howie
is.
has
it
plenty
is.
of
Look
misses.
At everyone's draft boards. It's a science. It is a total science to it.
Okay. It's a science in the sense that I like this guy and you like this guy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I do think that they can have a good draft this year, and they can definitely be a very strong defense. And having a competent defensive coordinator cannot be overlooked. Having 2 competent coordinators who can help keep Nick Sirianni in line, because Nick Sirianni's gotten a pass the past couple of months because he's been out of the media, so no one's talked about him. I talked about him on my show today, and people went, oh, yeah, I remember how bad this guy was last year. But to have 2 competent voices whispering into coach's ear cannot be overlooked, because last year, it truly feels like there was nobody. It truly feels like it was like Jason Kelsey and Big Dom, and that was basically it. So let's just hope that they can make a big change and a big difference overall.
Yeah. Hopefully like you say, the extra voices, and the fact that like, I don't know, and we probably, because it's been so long now, we're probably not going to get a official reporter extra inside look because everyone's kind of moving beyond last season, which is perfectly fine. But I don't know how much there was the meddling on the defensive side. There was definitely some, but like Sirianni being way too involved. So the hope is, yes, on the same side or the same token of let Kellen Moore control the offense and don't be too involved there, but definitely don't do anything with the defense. Like Vic Fangio knows what he's doing. You could just let him run it as if he's, totally in control despite, being the defensive coordinator. So he should be, but last season that didn't exactly take place from what we saw. So yeah, it should make a difference. And again, you've got guys that not only know what they're doing, but I think it's the respect in the room from the other players. Because sometimes it's like, I don't really know that guy. So you got to prove it to me. Like you got to earn that respect.
Yeah.
And, reports have decided not exactly being the best at relating to some players.
It didn't seem that way.
Did he earn that that respect? Probably not great. And then Patricia, similarly, sure, if you want to argue, put in a tough spot because it's middle of the season, running a defense is not yours and everything else. But either way, like it was a dumpster fire. So, it should certainly be better. Now, question. I don't know. Should we actually bring this up? I saw a comment. Someone's like, hey, we should talk about Justin Simmons. I've gotten more comments saying we should not talk about Justin Simmons, quite honestly. So are we done?
To.
Are we just not talking about it until
I've been told not to.
I guess it happens. Okay. We don't have to, but I saw a comment actually for once, which surprised me because usually it's stop talking about it. This is, until we actually get official news on Justin Simmons.
Hey, listen, I 100% get it because for weeks, you and I, and this is something that I think most people understand, but there are still comments about it. You and I report on the news. We report on what is out there. That doesn't mean that what is out there is true. Doesn't mean that because Adam Schefter goes on The Fanatic and says, they are going to make a run at Justin Simmons. Until we get the official tweet saying the Eagles have signed Justin Simmons, it's all, we don't know. And so you and I did this a bunch the past 3 weeks because there were a lot of reports linking Justin Simmons to Philadelphia, legit reporting, real hard, like they're trying to get him. And I think people just got tired of the whole idea because Justin Simmons never got signed, which I get it too. I'm sick and tired of it. But I agree. We've had a lot of people mention it in the comment section that they are tired of hearing about Justin Simmons. And so we'll say one quick thing on it. We both would like him. But at the same time, clearly the Eagles are either not interested or he wants too much money. It's that simple. It's that simple.
True.
And listen, Reed Blankenship gets a little bit too much hate. Was Reed good last year? Okay, let me say it again. Was Reed great last year? No. Was he bad last year? No. And so to extend him for less than $4 million, not a bad move overall for a team that needs some safety depth because Sidney Brown is hurt. I didn't get the Reed hate yesterday because it was so darn cheap. You basically signed it for nothing.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, again, like you said, we don't need to rehash it because it's not official. But once it does, we will be the first to go live. We'll let you guys know we got Justin Simmons. If it happens, the longer this plays out, as everyone knows, it's a better likelihood. But still, it's a question of like how much is he going to be, and just how I view it as a realistic possibility of saying, hey, you know what, this guy helps us. It makes sense to pay him whatever they come to terms with. Who knows? But yes, I'm total agreement of saying he still makes your defense better. Remo said they absolutely did not pay Reed like a starter. That's fair, but I think there's better than a 50% chance that they still view him as a starter, even though you didn't pay him like a starter. He's UDFA, and you extend him for 1 year, make it fully guaranteed. Reed's happy because, hey, you know what? You got almost $4 million. You weren't going to get anywhere close to that based on where your previous contract was.
Yeah.
So you take advantage of it. It's a very low risk for a guy who played solid the year before. He dealt with a groin injury that, he said in his press conference, even he's like, hey, it impacted me more than what I expected, basically. Kind of a lingering issue. So he got that taken care of. Who knows? You got a much better DC. So if you do go with it, it wouldn't be my ultimate preference, but still, there's a possibility, kind of reserve judgment there, and maybe he does play a little better.
There you go. I agree. And someone just mentioned we didn't pay Reed like a starter. Exactly. Like Remo says, we didn't pay Reed like a starter. So, it's so darn cheap. It's so darn cheap. What's not cheap is NFL jerseys. How about this segue here? We're giving away a jersey, probably multiple. We don't know the exact number yet, but we're giving away jerseys on night 1 of the NFL draft when we will be live for the entire evening like we were last year. A lot of people watched and had fun. We have the picks a lot earlier than most people, and we're going to give away a jersey. Drop a super chat between now and the and sometime during night one. $1 one entry, sub to both channels, and get you in on our jersey giveaway. We gave away 3 last year, so if that's any indication. And our channels were about half the size, so that's any indication,
Who knows what we'll do. We'll see. It's going to be a fun night regardless. But yeah,
very, very fun night.
No for sure guarantees. We'll save that for the surprise during draft night, but it'll be good. We can promise that.
Let's go a couple more, and then we're going to wrap up here. We're almost at an hour. This is some blasphemy from Bob Brown here, but at the same time, he says, this might be unpopular. It's going to be very unpopular. Would you consider trading H.K. Brown to Carolina for 33-39 in their 5th? We build more around Smitty, have more picks for defense? No, I would not. No, I would not. A.J. Brown?
Sorry.
No. Yeah, well, and Jazz makes a good point. The cap would be destroyed if you got rid of A.J. Brown. So, yeah, it's not possible. And A.J.'s not an issue. I mean, how many times last year did A.J. Brown say, I'm not an issue? And everyone else is like, he's not an issue. And the media's like, he's an issue. And then at the very end, he calls it a WIP and is like, what do y'all want from me? I mean, come on.
Go back and forth. It was just never ending.
Crazy.
The never ending drama. But yeah, I'm totally with you on that. It doesn't make sense for a number of reasons. But yeah, you need AJ. He makes this team so much better. He's incredibly dominant. Not that, and again, we're not taking anything away from Smitty. Like, it won't surprise me at all based on inflation, the cap increases, all this other stuff. If Smitty surpasses AJ in contract value, like that could very easily happen. But they're both right up there, and they're able to play off of one another. You key off AJ, all of a sudden Devontae goes for 125 yards and a touchdown. You key off of Devontae a little bit more. AJ's the reverse of that. So it's a perfect tandem, and you have the 3-headed monster with Saquon now in the addition. And then, by the way, obviously Dallas Goedert gets forgotten about quite a bit, but he should be utilized a little bit more frequently than last year. So it's just the extra wrinkle in the offense. I'm excited. Really, the most excitement, and it's great because a lot of teams, when you mention a specific team, the first player that comes to mind is the quarterback. And I know that Jalen is up there, but he stays out of the news so much that sometimes you forget, there's Jalen Hurts until, you got a Chris Sims segment or something like that hating on him. But other than that, you don't really hear much about it, which I think is great because, hey, you keep the main thing is which is what all he says, and you're just working. But I'm super excited to see Kellen Moore's difference with Jalen Hurts. Like, going through, watching just different YouTube videos and breakdowns of the offense and what Kellen Moore brings. The fact that Jalen is going to get under Kellen Moore's control here and able to kind of teach, and yes, there's a lot more emphasis and kind of responsibility put on the quarterback in Kellen Moore's schemes, but I think that's going to be great. And we're going to see a next jump because you got the weapons around him. And now you're going to say, okay, look, we're going to be able to take care of blitzes, which had been, a terrible issue, but blitzes are going to come this season. They're going to test Jalen Hurts. And Kellen Moore knows that. He's looking at already going, Jalen, we are going to have, first off, hot routes. Like, what a great idea. But also, Jalen, you making different audibles and adjustments at the line. I think you'll see a lot more of that. And it's going to be fantastic too, because there's different alignments and the defense can't key off. So just another part of the offense that I'm excited about. It doesn't get talked about too much naturally with Jalen just kind of in hiding, basically.
I think he was spotted working out. I'm going to put on my show tomorrow. I forget. Was it Temple? No, it wasn't Temple. Was it Rice? He was at some college campus working out. Did you see that tweet today?
Yeah. I think
it was
Rice, wasn't it?
I'm going to look it up.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look that one up too.
I'm sure I'll throw it on my show tomorrow. He was working out at Rice.
Yeah, okay, that's what I say.
With Pep Hamilton, too. Quarterback guru, Pep Hamilton.
Hey. So there you go.
Doing what he has got to do, 100%.
Okay,
we are going to wrap things up as we are almost at an hour. Again, a little bit earlier, Wednesday Linc Live. Got some stuff going on later tonight, and so we want to jump on. We haven't done a live show because I was in Europe last week, but we are back, and we're live shows every single week up until the draft, and then Josh and I get to see each other in person at my wedding in May, which is pretty crazy to say that I'm getting married in May.
There we go.
So Josh is in my wedding. By the way, I don't think
crazy for that. We're a month away.
Said that. I don't think people know that you are in my wedding. You are a groomsman in our wedding. If you think that
that's
Josh
right.
and I just do this for Eagles stuff, no. Josh and I are great friends off of the YouTube channel. So Josh is
I'm looking forward to that.
A lot of fun.
That's going to be.
He just has to stand further down the line because he's 6'9" and I'm 4'4". So I don't want the pictures to be like, oh, Paige is wearing an Oompa Loompa. Yeah, we don't want that. So he's got to move to the side a little bit here.
Okay,
let's focus on top.
Towards the far end.
I think most groomsmen are really tall though, so I'm in trouble. It's just how it is. I have really tall friends. So what are you gonna do?
Well, There you go. That's true. But I'm looking forward to, and it is crazy. Like you said, the draft not only 3 weeks away, but
3 weeks
then
away.
a week after that, there's your wedding. So it's this offseason, I will say, has flown by a lot quicker than last year.
Way
Just
faster.
To throw that out there. Yeah.
Way
it's
faster.
Been much quicker.
Can't wait. All right, guys, we appreciate you. We're going to jump off here, watch the show again if you missed it. For Josh Davis, Philly Special Show, I'm Thomas Mott signing off. See you guys in the next one.
Go Birds.